All right, American Hammers TV. This is a special episode tonight. We're going to be doing a season review with a whole boatload of guests, all guests that we've had on our show. Tonight, they're each going to give you their season review of the 2018-19 West Ham season. And if they have time, they're going to tap into what they'd like to see going forward in the next season. We're going to have them go in order. It's going to be kind of like a little forum here. And we're going to pretty much go in the order of I've had them, as we've had them on as guests. First, I'd like to say, thank you guys for showing up, but also our sponsor is Strava Craft Coffee, and they're based out of Denver, Colorado. It's the stuff I drink every single episode, and all day and night, 24/7. I should get an IV of this stuff. That said, it's going to be quite crazy. This is just a recording. This is not live, by the way. So Lee, man, my co-host, Lee and I are going to go after everybody else had their turn, their say. Tonight we have Kevin from the Columbus E13 in Columbus, Ohio. We have Wayne from Dallas, from the Dallas Hammers. We have David Lang from Boston, from the Boston Hammers. We have David from the Alamo City Hammers. We have Chaz from the Maryland Hammers. And we have Justin from Chicago Hammers. So that's going to be awesome, man. So needless to say, let's get this thing started. Kevin, Columbus E13, let's give us your season review. And by the way, sorry. Thanks, Lee. Lee's my co-host as usual. I forgot to say thank you, Lee. I'm so sorry, man.
I split right at the first.
I love you, man.
Okay. No, it's all right.
All right.
It's really just part of the scenery more than anything. Yeah.
Sorry, Lee. We ran long. We'll have you on next week.
All right, Kevin, it's your turn, man.
First of all, thank you guys so much for having me back on. I love what you guys are doing here. I guess I was your first guest. Is that still true? Okay. But ever since then, it's like grown into this like awesome thing that I couldn't be more proud to be part of. And I watch it every week. So hi, everybody. I'm the kook who went first. So I guess I'm the kook who goes first tonight. What do I think of this season? The first thing I think is that losing 4 games to start sucks. It really put a damper on the mood of my guys. And I have like expats that are in my group that are like, claret and blue through and through, and getting them like off the pot to get back down to games and everything was like pretty rough after those first 4. Everybody was super duper excited with all the super exciting news like every 5 minutes, which was such an enormous change from the previous summer when it seemed like we like didn't sign anyone and we were like posting memes of skeletons waiting to die while we were posting stuff. And then like last summer, it's like every other day we're like got a brand new guy. We're like, oh my God, look at this guy. Oh my God, look at this guy. So it was a great lead up. We all had super big hope, and then we just shit the bed right off the gate. So other than that, it went straight up as far as I'm concerned. Injuries aside, which were terrible and gave me some of my absolute lows. I'm super happy to see Anderson finally get his legs. For the first like 4, 5, 6, I can't remember how many games, I used to say, wow, 60,000 pounds weighs a lot in his pockets. He can't seem to move. But he got it together. And I think in the end, even though he could have had an even better season, I felt like he kind of showed us why he was like our biggest signing. Fabianski, Tim's favorite. He made me a true believer this year. I said from like half point on, I knew he was going to be Hammer of the Year. And when I was on the second time on the show, I got the true feelings from Tim about what he really thought about Fabianski. And I got to tell you this. I'm a very big fan of Adrian. Very, very big fan of Adrian. I thought he was a great West Ham player. I think anybody that ends up getting him is going to be super happy. I think he puts his heart on the line. I was bummed like when he was back and forth with like Darren Randolph, and I ended up loving Randolph as well. All I can say is that none of these guys, especially Fabianski, none of them are Joe Hart, and thank God for that, because that guy can eat shit and go and he's a dirty word here in Columbus, because somehow he keeps getting tied with a possible transfer to my Columbus Crew, because we're losing our goalie who's going to Manchester City in the middle of the MLS season. So my God, it'll just break my heart if Joe Hart's in a goal down here. So anyway, Fabianski, awesome. Love that he was Hammer of the Year. I realize you can't stop every goal, but I mean, let's face it, our defense at some points was a little iffy. And so he did the very best he could. I mean, look at the acrobatic saves that the guy pulls down. You can't stop everything. I feel like he almost did. So that's my take on Fab. I'm a huge Marko Arnautovic fan. Very, very big fan of Arnie, except for the fact that I'm a strong believer that he gets his feelings hurt very, very badly. He needs the crowd to love him. When he has the support behind him, man, he could like, the sky's the limit. The guy could just do just about anything. He's like Superman. But I tell you what, he takes a couple hits in the press or whatever, or on social media. He gets bummed out. He gets frustrated on the field, and obviously his season can go to shit. And I wish his brother would just curl up and die. But I thought that he finished the season strong, and I hope into my heart of hearts that he stays a Hammer all summer, and I kind of think that he's gonna. Wilshire. I think that the jury is still out on Jack. I was super excited that they signed him last summer. I think he does a great job controlling the field when he's out there. And he had a mostly not injured season with Arsenal in the last season that he was in there. But I mean, I'm a guy that has bad feet and legs. Jack's a guy that has bad feet and legs. You know what I mean? God bless him, but I really hope he gets it together, and I hope he takes this whole summer to heal, and I hope he gets in there and kicks ass, because I don't think it's going to cost us anything to keep him in there. So I think he's a good option, especially off the bench, and he does a great job in the middle when he's actually in there. Sanchez did nothing for me before he got hurt. Did less for me when I saw him come back on the field. Not a fan. He can go away as far as I'm concerned. I do not feel the same about Yarmolenko. I thought Yarmolenko was awesome before he got hurt. And when I very first saw him get signed, I was like, who the hell is that? And then when I saw him play, and I was watching PL Today, and they had Don Hutchinson on, and he was talking about how dangerous his left foot is. And then I saw him score. I was like, holy moly. Somebody, Justin's got his mute off. He's walking around outside with we can hear the sounds of Chicago. Perfect.
You missed the signal.
I think he's over there ordering hot dogs.
Okay, it's an hour-long show, okay?
Am I getting too long?
Yeah, you went too long, man. You missed my signal twice.
At least he's got his pants on.
Little up in the corner. I'm sorry. Okay.
Oh, man. No, it's all good.
I will yield. I mean, I got lots more to talk about. I'll wait for the banter.
All right, cool. That's all right. So next guest is Mr. What's his name? Mr. Nimble. Not Nimble. What's your name again? Wayne.
It's
Wayne.
Nigel from back home. Nigel from back home.
Nice.
I had a wonderful time. Thank you very much for inviting me here today. I brought me mug of tea. It's been a lovely time. I give the last person on the show an 8 for effort. An 8 for effort. Thank you very much. You did a lovely job, Kevin. Lovely job. So Anyway.
All right,
as
guys.
I say,
Your time is starting now. So.
Okay, the time's starting now. So, yeah, I didn't really disagree with anything you said, but then again, I'm that sort of person that doesn't really disagree with anything that anybody says because I'm just a nice person. What can I say about the season? I felt like for some reason we were going to have the type of season that we had in 2015-16. I really felt like that was what was going to happen. I felt like that's what was going to happen coming in. When I looked at the team that we'd put together, the money that we'd spent, I thought that we were going to have, a run at Europe. I definitely thought we were going to have a run at the Cup. And I looked back and said, you know what? I think we're going to push for sixth. I thought we're going to push for sixth. I figured Pellegrini knows his stuff. He's never not made Europe, and I was preparing to decorate McSwiggins in claret and blue streamers and balloons and celebrate for the FA Cup. I really was, and I'm sure a whole bunch of other people were. And then those first 4 games happened, and I went, "Fuck, we're definitely not going to do this. We're definitely not going to do it." And I started really frigging worrying. I really did start worrying. It was pretty bloody brutal. And then of course, that we had the game against Wimbledon, which we should have really stomped all over them. And if it wasn't for a couple of lucky Chicharito things at the end there, we would have lost it, and we looked like dirt. We really looked like dirt. And I thought, okay, maybe we'll struggle, and we've got some new players coming in, players that we don't really know about. The jury was still out on Yarmolenko. I didn't know whether he was going to be the man that everyone had promised to be, and quite frankly, what I'd seen of him, I didn't think he was going to be that much, to be quite honest. And I started to think, well, maybe we'll struggle to make it to 10th. Really did. But being the optimistic person that I am, I figured, okay, I'll still stick with 6th place. I still think 6. So anyway, we went through a little bit, and then we had that wonderful win, didn't we, against Manchester United, 3-1. And I thought, all right, this might be the year. This might be the year. We beat Man U 3-1, which is fantastic. Maybe we are going to start getting things together a little bit. And I do want to say thank you very much to Lee and Tim for giving me an outlet to speak my rather demented mind, which has been really an awful lot of fun. Because people that know me would have said, these two guys definitely don't know who they've put on their show so many times because he's a complete lunatic. But it's been a lot of fun. But we had October and November, and October and November for me really sucked. It really sucked. I mean, it's great being down the pub with all your mates, but when, like you guys know, when you run a group, you've got to try and jolly them along so you've got the people that turn up in the pub every week. But it was bloody hard to jolly them along, and it was hard to get up in the morning and make it down to the pub because, October, November, it just was, to be quite honest, for me, it looked like it was crap. It really did. We weren't winning the games we were supposed to win. We got beat twice by frigging Spurs. Twice by Spurs. And that's usually a game that I think we're going to go out and we're going to win it. The guy that everyone's saying, oh, he's going to be fantastic, Anderson, wasn't getting his legs like I thought he was supposed to. I'll be quite honest. I think he came round in the end. I still think he's got an awful lot of work to do. I think he's afraid of playing in the Premiership. I really do. I think he needs to go at it a little bit more. So yeah, I see David there's going. Yeah, he's not too sure about that. Yeah, I'm not too sure myself. I think if I had to grade Anderson on the year, I'd give him a solid 6. To be honest, I'd give him a 6. I don't think I'd give him anything more than that. I think he's got some good skills, but I don't think he's quite got the hang of the Premiership. I really don't. I think he's got the possibilities of being something else. But when you look what everybody else said about him, even playing over at Lazio, they're like, you'll have a good game off of him and you have a crap game off of him. And I think he's shown that that's exactly what he does. It is what he does. Although when we're playing against a team with 10 men and he's got a little bit of space around him, he tends to. It's lovely watching him make people look like idiots. It really is. His nutmegs are superb. It really is. His skills in that respect are superb. So, apart from the win over Burnley of 4-2 in that period, I don't really think there was anything that really floated my boat, so to speak. It really isn't. I mean, I think if Nigel was on, Nigel would have to say, it was bloody awful. It was bloody awful. Yes. Nigel would have to say it wasn't enough to grow the hair on my head. It really wasn't. So I'm getting the signal now to wrap up a little bit, which is bloody awful because I'm not going to wrap up because Kevin took an extra 2 minutes. So fuck it, I'm taking an extra 2 minutes as well. So, what can you say? I'm going to say a couple more things. December Snodgrass's goal.
This is how chaos starts.
I know. Stop talking. No, I'm not going to. Snodgrass's goal against Crystal Palace in December was brilliant. For me, that was one of the highlights of the season. The guy was absolutely brilliant. He was fantastic. Yeah, I know, 5 minutes 55. I'm going to get the rest of this in here. January, best game of the season. Best game of the season for me was beating Arsenal, apart from right at the end when we sent off that yodeling twat and he did that bye-bye shit. That, for me, ruined the whole season for me. As far as I'm concerned, I'll say this right here and now. Once a troublemaker, always a troublemaker. Arnie should just F off, get rid of him. If he hasn't caused trouble now at the end of this season, he'll cause trouble in December. He'll cause trouble sometime. I don't think he's that great a talent that we need it. He's somebody saying no. I think Arnie is. I'd like to give him the Joker card, but really, I'd like to give him the Death card. That's what I'd like to give Arnautovic. Give him this, bugger off. But for me, the season was fantastic. I'll give Pellegrini a B+ for the season, and I will give us, as a group of supporters and the American Hammers TV, an A+ because we are just fucking brilliant. We really are. And Nigel says, thank you very much. If you expect me to have an opinion in 5 minutes again, you've got to be out your cock and pick up bloody mouth. Because it's not going to bloody well out. Okay?
It was a bad idea. Can you imagine if we had 2 more people on here, or even 20? I contemplate 20 because Skype you could have up to 25 people at the same time. It was Hangouts like you only had 10. That would have been just a fucking mess. But anyway,
that would have been terrible.
I know. So let's get on to David from Boston. What's up, David?
Hey everyone, thanks for having me on. My initial thoughts are that it was a good campaign, considering that slow start we had with the 4 losses. I actually didn't think that was too unexpected, just because Pellegrini had slow starts under Malaga and Villarreal, the same deal where he had to turn over the team. So I didn't know if it was that bad, but I was kind of expecting a slow start. I think it also hurt us that we had injuries to Yarmolenko right as he got his feet on the ground, and to Lanzini. I agree with Wayne's statement that up until early January, it was very rough going because of those 2 factors, but we had a very good run of results starting in early January. I really liked the way Declan Rice came on at that point. I think he's kind of been the revelation of the season, from more just breaking up the play to now breaking up the play, passing it. His runs are getting better. I think in 2 years' time, whatever time we can sell him for £90 million, he's almost going to be the new Gareth Bale, kind of where can we recoup that money and spread it around smartly. But then I think what came into play was the whole Arnautovic situation. Up until the whole discontent, the rumors were that it's some gambling problem. He owes money. I don't know if that's true, but up until that point, he was really sticking to the defender, or the 2 central defenders, really hugging them, and then making very aggressive runs. Once the rumors started swirling and he was looking to go to China, I don't know if that was a rumor, he wasn't making those runs anymore. You could really see his effort falling off. So I think that became kind of the news story after our slow start. I still think we came on very well there at the end. I disagree a little bit with Wayne about Felipe Anderson. I agree he had a slow start. I think the Premier League is a lot more physically demanding than Serie A, so it took a while for him to get adjusted. But all in all, I think he's very creative. He tries to beat his defender, which I think is something that West Ham fans want. I think actually, if you look at his stats, it kind of looks like he's very timid when he goes in with his challenges. But I think his the defensive record is that he's pretty good on challenges compared to other like attacking midfielders. So I would give him like a B+, and I think he's going to improve even more the next campaign. I think another story of our season was that our central midfield combined with our fullbacks was a little weak. I think our attacking support was pretty good. I think our center backs were pretty good. Even after Balbuena got injured, Ogbonna came in. But I think against teams with physical midfields at home, like Brighton, Wolves, Burnley, we lost to them at home. We drew with Huddersfield. I thought that was a consistent problem for us all year, even when the attacking players were healthy. I also thought Diop had a really good season. I thought he was slow to start. He's young. He's only 22. But I think as the season progressed, there were certain games, I can't remember all of them, but he made some very like crunching, goal-saving tackles. And then I think Pellegrini rotated him a little bit when Balbuena was injured to put Ogbonna in. But I think he's a really good story. I think he's another player who will improve, and we can sell him on later. So I think that was a good signing. I agree that the hammer of the year is definitely our goaltender. I think with our fullbacks being weak and sometimes our central defense being weak, he made so many key saves. So I definitely feel he deserves to be hammer of the year. Maybe Declan Rice is second, and then maybe Diop followed by Anderson. I think you could flip those around. But I think those were kind of like the four best stories of the campaign. Please give me the signal if I'm going on too long. I'm kind of just talking. I think for the offseason, we need to add depth at fullback. I think we should get rid of Cresswell. I'm very confused about Masuaku just because he had such a low point. He's had just low points in his career with West Ham where he looks like he can't defend at all, even if he's good going forward. But then I think if the other players around him are good, I think he's okay. Maybe we look at him as a backup. I really think we need to reinforce our midfield with just another almost kind of box-to-box midfielder. There's already been rumors of that probably aren't going to come true. With I think there's some midfielder from Milan and some midfielder from Real Madrid. And then I think the big story is that for striker, we're going to have a lot of outgoing players. Obviously, we aren't going to re-sign Carroll. I think we should get rid of Hernandez. He is who he is. He's a poacher. He'll get you goals. He won some games for us, but I don't think in Pellegrini's system he's like the consistent performer we need. So the rumors right now are Mitrovic, Gomez, or Barrega. I don't know how his name is pronounced, from Porto. I'd be happy with any of those. There's like a debate about who the best is going to be, but I don't really know at this point. I'm not an expert. I'm not a scout who goes to all the games. I think we're definitely going to get rid of Adrian. And then I actually, even though he had some really good performances, I'd like to see us get rid of Snodgrass and Obiang. Are my 5 minutes up? So that's all I got. Yep. Okay.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, time's up, man. I appreciate that. Thank you, David. We're going to let Justin go next because his phone's about to die. So let's get him in here.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
And then we'll go on to David from Alamo City.
Yeah, thanks for being adaptable. I appreciate it. Yeah, so obviously it's been mentioned before. We started off very poorly. Actually, before I start, Lee and Tim, great job so far. And Wayne for all of his contributions as well, and everyone. This has been an awesome channel, and I'm really glad to be a part of it, so thank you. As I think Kevin mentioned earlier, obviously we started off very poorly, losing our first 4 matches. I believe we were the first team in all levels of English football to not have a single point after 4 matches of the season. So it was obviously, with all of the high hopes heading into the season, not how we wanted to start the season. Finally got on the board with a couple of big wins against Everton and, as Wayne mentioned, against United. And that's when I really thought, okay, the season may start turning around. We may start seeing the real West Ham. But then the inconsistency started, and little did we know that inconsistency that we started to see was just a foreshadowing of what we would eventually see throughout the season. I think after that United match, we didn't get a result in 2 matches in a row for about 2 months until December. And then while we did play some weak competition, we did win, I think 4 games in a row, in December and 5 out of the 7 or 5 out of the 6 games in December. So we had a really good end to 2018, and Anderson really started coming into his own. I remember that brace against that he had against Southampton, where we came back and won that match with him. I really thought, okay, this guy might be worth that 42 million quid that we paid for him. But then again, back to the inconsistency. The first 2 months of 2019 were very poor. The only highlight was that Arsenal victory where Declan Rice got his first goal. But there continued to be no away wins. We also saw some bad losses against Bournemouth and Wolves, although Wolves turned out to be a pretty good team. And I do think that Arnautovic obviously had an effect on the first 2 months of that season. He did put up a fit. I think he handled it very poorly. I'll talk about Arnautovic in a bit. He obviously handled it very poorly, and it did affect the team. We did play well in late February, early March, got some wins against Fulham, Newcastle, and although we did lose to City at the Etihad, we played them very well. But then more inconsistency followed. We had a bad loss to Cardiff, who ended up getting relegated, had another awful loss to Everton. But then I think the most important thing, we finished strong. The last 5 games were very good. I know we lost to United at Old Trafford, but we should have won. Had a tough draw versus Leicester. Was really hoping we would win that one and lost the win at the last second, and then finished off with Spurs, a phenomenal win, getting the first goal at their new stadium and first win, and the first away win since that Southampton match I mentioned earlier when we beat Southampton at home, and then ended off versus Watford. So my goals before the season, honestly, were 50 points or more in a top 10 finish. I thought that we could be good, but I knew a lot of new faces were coming in. So I tried to keep my expectations in check. Technically, we did fulfill those goals, but I have a lot more expectations, especially based off the end of the season form that we experienced. Next year, I hope my personal goals are at least 55 points or a top 7 finish, and or a quarterfinal or semifinal FA Cup run. Want to give a shout out to Fabianski. He was my hammer of the year. I think he was everyone's hammer of the year. Felipe Anderson, I do agree with Wayne a bit in that he was a bit inconsistent, and that's what we heard of him heading into the season. He started to get his legs. He has 1 year Premier League experience. The second year is going to be big. Declan Rice, I mean, he's going to be amazing for us. I'm so glad we have him. I'm really pumped to see how he continues to grow. The partnership between Diop and Balbuena, I'm really excited about that. I think we have a really solid center back partnership there. And although he did put up a fit in the middle of the season, I am a Marco fan. I'm going to give him one more chance. I think he can be a guy that gives us 10 goals a year. I really do think so. And I really don't think that we're going to get the money that I think we deserve from him. I think if we sell him, we're just going to get a loss. So I think keep him, and hopefully he can get us 10 or so goals next year. Some needs for next season. I think we need a left back. Masuaku's been inconsistent, so is Cresswell. We definitely need another midfielder. I hope we sell Obiang. I think we obviously need a striker, probably 2 more. And then we obviously need a backup goalkeeper as well. Overall, I thought it was a good, not great season. We definitely haven't fulfilled our potential. And again, based off the way we ended things this year, I have high hopes going into next year. Want to give a shout out to all the Chicago Hammers, Matt, Jamie, Bacon, Dave, Kyle. I know I'm missing people, Scotty, Casey, Nate, John Jr., Principal John, all those guys. I love you all. Sorry if I missed someone. And again, Lee and Tim and everyone, thank you so much for allowing me to come on the show. You guys are doing some awesome stuff. So thanks.
Well, thank you, Justin. I appreciate that, man. And, and I just want to say to everybody else who said thank you so far, we really appreciate that, man. We started this, we just wanted to, showcase your supporters groups and try to help, advertise you guys really and the good work that you guys do, because, it's fantastic to see so many different groups across the country. That's just awesome to us. So, but thanks to you guys, this show has evolved. and we've actually got, different guests on the show too, which is kind of cool. So anyway, we got David from Alamo City on deck here. Actually, he's up right now. So David from Alamo City, man, you want to chat away?
What's that? Well, I guess thanks Tim and Lee again for having me on. It's great. It's a pleasure to be on. I'd like to take a minute to say thanks to Wayne and the Dallas Hammers for having me up there. It was a good visit. Shame about the match. For me, it's a season of what ifs. We did a lot of good business in the summer, I thought, and I was really hopeful to see that we'd see if we'd have a good season. But then we got season-long injuries to Yarmolenko and Jack Wheelchair. Of course, he's out of business for most of the year. And you always wonder, what would happen if that were different. The thing that I was really disappointed with this year, despite our reasonable finish in the league, was this sort of apathy that we had when we had played the clubs that were around us and below us in the league. There was a lot of games where it's like West Ham we've had for the last couple of years. They show up sometimes, and then other times there's nothing. They sort of show up and roll over for everyone. But I don't know. It's it's been a roller coaster, I suppose. Even with the apathy and the crap results, through the middle of the year, if we had VAR in place, we'd have finished in seventh, I think, because the Liverpool game was that should have been ours, 1-0. The Man U game should have been ours. That would have placed us 6 points higher, firmly in seventh. So, I mean, how do you sum it up? I hope Arnautovic gets his crap together and decides he wants to be a West Ham player. And I hope that lasts all season next year. Am I confident that's going to happen? We'll see. But no, really, my appetite is whetted for next year. I think Pellegrini's brought in a new system. The first few games, it looks like we were having a hard time adjusting to that. But towards the end of the season, they've been looking more and more confident as a group. They've got the system down. Anderson, who I started at the beginning of the year calling the Brazilian Jogging Club, has learned how to defend. He's running. Just the whole group is looking better. Declan Rice, dear God, I hope we can hold on to him for more than a couple of years. I know we're not going to invest much in the summer, but I think with the group of players that we've got, with a fresh start on a new year, we'll be in a lot better shape next year. It's just where we invest next year. At the end of next summer will be I think that's going to be a really important window for our club. This year we've got something we can build on, and I think the group of players that we have, like the core group of players we have, is enough to build on what we did this year. If we can keep Wilshere fit, which is a big if, if Anderson shows up, does a bit of weightlifting over the summer, I think we can do some good next year. I'd be interested to see if they bring in, I think Maxi Gomez and Mitrovic would be a good pair to bring in for the up front. I think Carroll's gone. I think Hernandez is gone. I think Obiang's gone. I think Adrian's gone for sure. Those four. We need to bring in probably, I would think, a left back. We need a box-to-box midfielder, and we need two up front, and of course a goalie. If all of that business goes well, and it doesn't have to be top quality people, I think they just need to gel with the squad that we've got. Next year we can be in a lot better shape. But yeah, I mean, at the end of this year, it's very much a cliffhanger. The last couple of games we played brilliantly. Where was that all fucking season? I don't know what else to say. Just yeah. I hope that nobody gets too fat over the holidays. I hope they come back in July and they're ready to do some running. And I hope come August, we're ready to do the business. Yeah, I'm wanting to talk as well. But that's my 2 cents, I suppose.
All right, thank you, David, man. That's actually just on time. That's funny. You were right on the 5-minute mark there. All right, we got Chaz next, and am I right? Do we got Chaz next? Yeah, Chaz next. Justin already went, so Chaz, and then we'll have Lee and myself thereafter, and then we'll see if we have time for banter thereafter. So, Chaz, you there, man?
Yeah, you sound so happy to have me back on.
Chaz, dude. Well, the best, man. I don't know if you other guys saw that, but the episode that we did with Gary and what was it? Kostia from DC Irons. Yeah, we had Chaz come in the middle of it as a surprise guest that nobody had any idea about. Not even Lee. It's awesome. They're like, wait a minute, is that Chaz there?
Is that Chaz? Is that Chaz's music? Is that Chaz's music? Yeah, that's pretty much how it was.
I think Lee's still cursing me for that.
Yeah, WWE style entrance. It was.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah.
All right, you got the room, brother. You got your timer starts now, man.
So I mean, I was happy with the summer signings, but like every West Ham season, it takes a long time for it to gel in. First 4 losses, after those, I think every West Ham fan starts questioning what's going on. Like everybody else has already said, we strung together some decent results, but like every season, it seems in the last few years, we're losing to teams we should beat and should beat them pretty handedly. But then again, we just sort of bounce back, beat, Manchester United. Later in the season, we beat Tottenham. Also lost to Tottenham twice. But I think there are definitely, after all the signings we saw during the summer, I think most of us thought that it's going to take a little while. Fabianski just comes in and lights it up, stays, keeps us from, I want to say the relegation battle. I love Adrian just like anybody else, but I don't think Adrian could have done any of that stuff that Fabianski did. The rest of the guys, Anderson, yeah, like everybody said, on and off. But, coming from Lazio, I mean, you could see it in the first few matches. Someone blew on him and he was going to go down and, flail his arms, look for a card. That's not the Premier League. Going forward, box-to-box midfielders, we need it. There's a lot of rumors floating around, like everybody said. Until the deal's done, we're West Ham. We're going to be linked to everybody in the world. Messi's going to come over to West Ham. He just wants to show his skills in the Premier League, and he's going to come to us. Don't know how the Dildo brothers are going to pull that one off, but hey, screw it. Let's go with it. Yeah. Box-to-box midfielder, definitely think we're going to need somebody on left back. I wouldn't mind Masuaku being pushed up onto a winger. His tracking back, though, is... Well, crap. I mean, I can't run that far, but goddamn, he is awful at trying to track back. He just is not a good defender. Declan Rice, huge call up for us. So, hopefully he continues to grow and expand with us. Unfortunately, I do see him leaving in probably 3 seasons. Don't want him to, but if we're allowed to, if we could build on everything else, then maybe if we can become a contender, not just push top 6. Well, push top 6 this season, top 4 in 2 seasons. Who knows? Maybe we can keep him around a little bit. I mean, I heard Gareth Bale is supposed to be looking for a way out. So, hey, as long as Declan doesn't put a man bun on, I think we could all be okay with that. Because, God forbid, no one wants that shit, especially in the U.S. And now I'm seeing a man bun being proposed. Good God, I'm going to have horror dreams on that one. honestly, a few people were saying that they want a backup keeper. I think we already have one in what is it, Trot? I think he does have the abilities. I'm pretty sure there's probably more guys in the youth squad that can then back up into that one. So I think we have the keeper. I'd rather see money spent somewhere else, mainly the box-to-box midfielder. I mean, I get slated, but Noble is getting old. He showed up really well. I mean, he commands a dressing room, but we need to be prepared. I mean, Rice is going to take over for him. We already know that. I mean, you can already see it in the style of play, minus the fact that he can do a slide tackle without getting a yellow card every time. But we're going to need somebody. We're going to need an actual midfielder, someone that can run box to box. Lanzini, there's been a lot of speculation, so we're going to have to see what's going on with him. Since he's come over, he's had a few injury problems. Obviously, what happened this season, it's kind of hard to tell because it didn't happen with us. It happened on the national team. Do we look for another central attacking midfielder to fill his role, or at least someone to back him up? Anderson, I don't want to say it, though, to keep going back to it. Is he going to be our next Payet? I mean, he is a cold favorite, but he doesn't have that free kick skills. Other than that, strikers, shocker. West Ham needing a striker. Let's see, I'm 30 years old. Yeah, you can keep putting your arms up. I'm going to go ahead. Everybody else had another 15 minutes of time. We're going to need a striker. 2, 3, 7. Hell, we could just do a 1 in goal and then 11 strikers. I'll be fine with it. And now that I'm getting sweet, sultry eyes, I'm going to go ahead and... oh, there it is. Hey, buddy. And that's all I have.
Oh, boy. Got a little intimate there for a minute. All right. So, Lee, it's your turn, man. Oh, well, first of all, thanks, Chaz. I appreciate it. Don't hear about man bun. All right, Lee, your turn. Now, Lee, hold on.
Yes.
You're 5 minutes, my man.
No. I've been giving you impressions of the season on this show since the end of January, so I'm not going to take a lot of time. You've heard enough of me already. I wanted to show off my 1975 FA Cup winners mug that I have somehow forgotten to show on every episode until now. What do you think about that, huh? Yeah? Got that from one of my wife's family members. Thought that was kind of cool. I want to, first of all, I'll take almost my whole 5 minutes just to thank Tim for starting this show, for asking me to be a part of it. I really enjoy it. I can't tell you how much I look forward to doing this 2 nights a week and sometimes more often. Tim's a good friend. He's a good guy. I've known him for a while now, and I'm really happy to count him as one of my friends, and I'm really happy to have met all of you and all the people we've had on the show. It's a huge family, and I really feel part of it, and I feel loved, and I love West Ham, and I'm just really grateful for all of you. So, but mostly for Tim, who started all this. I'll give you 4 words, my 4 words for the season. They all start with the letter I. Injuries, I don't think we need to talk much more about that. Inconsistency, again, we don't need to talk about that either, Okay. Yeah, Wayne's giving. I see you down there. I see you down there, Nigel. Oh, oi, Nigel. Injuries, inconsistency, which we've all discussed quite a bit. And I think one of them has to be incompetence of the officials, who took probably between 5 and 8 points away from us. And I've already forgotten the 4th one, but anyway, it doesn't really matter. The way I saw it, this was arguably one of the best Premier League seasons ever in terms of how strong the league was. 4 European finalists, a 5th club that actually won the league and is probably going to win the other 2 domestic trophies. For us to finish 10th and top 50 points and not ever really be in relegation trouble, I give the whole season a B-, which is really not a bad grade at all. I think it was better than average. I think a C is average, so I'll give it a little bit better than average. I give Pellegrini a B- only because I thought some of his starting 11s were baffling, especially in February and March. And, I'm bitter still about the Everton debacle that took place when we all went to Boston to have a big party, and then we didn't get to have a big party. But I think, obviously we're heading in the right direction. everybody else has gotten into players who should stay and who should go. I think we know who's leaving. As far as the ones who are controversial, I would keep Arnautovic against my better judgment because I think he's good, and we're hurting for strikers, and I don't know how many we're going to be able to bring in. And they're always unproven. Remember, we brought in Andre Ayew, we brought in Cagliari, we brought in. I can't think of how many strikers we brought in who have either been garbage or just not good enough, or they've gotten injured. We've got a guy who's relatively healthy. We've got a guy we know what he is. He may cause trouble, but we know he can score goals when he's on his game. I would keep him. I would keep Snodgrass just because I like him. Alex Song, that's another one. I would keep Snodgrass just because I like him. I would keep. I would probably get rid of Cresswell. Probably get rid of Masuaku, especially if he wants to leave. But again, I've said what I wanted to say about the season all season long, and I just want to thank you for all your support. And I, continuing to go forward with this, and I hope to get to every city you're in eventually, and see you all in person for a West Ham match. And I'm going to give everybody back some time, and I'll turn it back over to Tim at this point.
Well, thank you, everybody. I really appreciate that. And Lee, man, listen, just so everybody else knows. Yeah, Lee and I met a while ago when I was looking for people to help run a club that I had I wanted to put in the NPSL, and I was searching LinkedIn for different people, and I did LinkedIn searches for West Ham and also like internet searches for West Ham and also Massachusetts, and he was one of the first people that popped up and kept popping up and over and over and over again on my LinkedIn, and I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to reach out to this guy, and sure enough, here we are, and listen. I wanted to start this like over a year ago, but I just never got around to it. And, it wasn't until recently that maybe I'd say back in November, December that I reached out to Lee again and we were talking about it, and it just seemed like it was right. And I wouldn't have been able to do it by myself. I wouldn't have been able to start this by myself, and I wouldn't have been able to continue with it without all your help. So I appreciate every single, like I've said this before, I appreciate every single guest that we've ever had on. I love the fact that you guys are more than willing to come back to do these things with me and Lee and all these different extra episodes and fill in for either of us when we're not able to do a particular show. And Lee, I wouldn't have been able to start this if it wasn't for Lee. So I appreciate that, Lee. Thank you, man. Yeah. So anyway, I'm going to leave that. That's my time. All right. So I'm just one real quick. I'm going to start this off with the whole banter thing with. I agree with everything. Almost everything. I don't agree with
Fabianski.
Well, listen. Our track record as a club is that when a goalkeeper plays 38 games, starts 38 games, we end up finding someone else to come in as a backup, and then they end up taking over, like we did with Juicy, like we did with Rob Green. I mean, all these other people. You know what I mean? Unless they left, like Rob Green, actually. But
by the way, can I just tell you very quickly? I took my nephew. I took my nephew to Gillette Stadium last night. The Revolution played a friendly against Chelsea. My nephew's a big Chelsea fan. I know he's a good kid, though. He's a good kid. You met him, Tim. He was at the event in Boston. Guess who played the last 45 seconds for Chelsea? Rob Green. Rob Green, and I was the only one in the stadium standing up, like cheering, So I was almost the only one in the stadium anyway because it was a Revs game. But
if you remember what happened with
that was my connection to West Ham for the night last night. While I had to sit around a bunch of people who actually were saying things like "Go Chelsea."
Yeah, but if you remember what happened with Juicy, man, he played 38 games, and then Adrian came in as a backup, and then he's taking over pretty much, and he pretty much did what Fabianski did to Adrian. Or what they actually tried to do with Randolph and everything else. And, Adrian had one decent season. And after that, they tried taking it away from him and over and over and over again. So I think that Fabianski, yes, he's Hammer of the Year, but so what? So it was fucking, all these other idiots. My point is, I think that could happen to him. Because goalkeepers, their jobs are not concede. And as soon as they find someone else that comes in and has a couple good games, if he pulls an injury or something like that, shit, he's going to lose his job anyway. I agree with the season. The 4 losses in a row, that was stupid. My expectations, just like everybody else, was mid to high. I mean, mediocre to high, because when they spent £100 million, you expect. My instant gratification is okay. Well, they're gonna have a great season. They're gonna be 6th. That was my initial reaction, and then it started set on me like, just what Justin and a couple of you other guys said was, well, there's too many cooks in the kitchen now. There's too many new people, and they're not going to gel. They're not going to mesh. So anyway, like out of all the transfers, let's just go down here. Out of all the bullshit rumors that are going on, who have we been linked to that so far, now that the window is officially open, that you would definitely see as a need, like a must? We have to sign. If we could only splash all this money on one guy, who would that be? And I'm going to mute myself, and you can just go around.
You guys do it.
Maybe Maxi Gomez, the striker from Celta Vigo, because it looks like we've had a long-term interest in him. We don't know if Arnautovic is going to, have the effort again if we keep him. He's young. I like young players. I think we should try to get a lot of young foreign players who Pellegrini's good at managing. And I agree with what Chaz said, that striker is always kind of a weakness for us. So if we can build depth at that position, I think that would be great. So that's just the first name that pops into my head. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I would like if that happened.
I'd say Maxi as well.
Yep.
Yeah, without a doubt, Gomez. Obviously, that's the one rumor that's still been circulating since last year. Quite a few other rumors that are, the tabloids are just running, but I would say Gomez.
The thing with Gomez is that now that it looks like his team's not going to get relegated, and his release clause is so high now that X said this on his show, that this is going to lit the interest in him. So we're not going to have as many clubs to fight over him, for that $45 million. So who's next? Who else wants to talk here about what they want?
I think it's unanimous that
Gomez
is the guy.
Yeah, I think we're all agreeing on Gomez.
Seriously, yeah. And I think we have to take Gomez for one reason only, and that's the fact that Pellegrini seems so hot on him.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why we need to take Gomez. I mean, I've watched some stuff on him. I don't think I've got to be quite honest, I don't think he's that phenomenally impressive. But he's young.
Second half of the season, he wasn't particularly good. He scored a lot of goals early on, and then he went very quiet. And then he also had some discipline problems. Got sent off a couple of times, which I think you hate to see from a striker. I just feel as though that's not.
That just shows that he's got a bit of gumption. He's got a bit of get up and go. And speaking of get up and go, I would just like to see Arnautovic get up and fucking go. I just think he's trouble waiting to come. So get rid of him and get Gomez in. Quite frankly, I just think that's the deal.
Di Canio had a bit of get up and go as well.
Yeah, well, we need more than one striker, though. I mean, and the thing about Arnautovic is, we know what he is, and if he can possibly just put his brother in a box and forget about him and play for us, we know what
in the ocean.
Right. Well, whatever's convenient. We know what he could do, and you just I just think it's dangerous to get rid of a player we know is that good, who has nevertheless, despite all his antics in January, a really pretty good track record for us in terms of scoring goals.
How old is Arnautovic?
It's like 28, 29, 30.
29, yeah.
30.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what did he do at Stoke?
Yeah, so he's got
He was a winger, and that's what he is. He's a winger. He's not a striker. He's not a striker.
He's not even a proper winger.
He's a proper. That's.
I think he played good as the lone striker, though.
No. Wing's partially right there.
Most successful as a winger. That's where he played all.
What he did it.
But the other thing,
the
other thing we had to look at is that we did end up playing a 4-4-2 how many times this season? Are we going to play Arnautovic as a single striker, or are we going to play him as sort of a, sit back behind somebody else, or are we going to play him forward with somebody else behind him? If Lanzini stays injured, what are we going to do? Are we going to play that 4-4-2, and do we we're going to need another striker right behind him?
Yeah, and I think Pellegrini has almost always preferred a 4-4-2, even though he switched up a little bit during the season, but he almost always prefers 4-4-2.
So
what are we going to do? Because we're going to end up playing a diamond. We played a sort of a wide diamond when Lanzini came back, or if we have someone capable enough to playing in sort of a central striker or a central attacking midfielder role, we're playing basically a wide diamond with one central attacker, but that attacking midfielder slots in to be a second striker.
I think that's mostly down to the personnel that we've had available this year. Pellegrini, with Manchester City back in when he was in charge of City, it was a 4-2-2-2 is what he used to play. Basically a 4-4-2. I think we play Arnautovic off of a main striker. You want a poacher up front that's quick. Somebody, I mean, you're not going to get a Sergio Aguero, but somebody that's akin to that sort of style of player, where he's a bully, he's quick, he's really decisive in the box, and you give Arnautovic more of a free role around the front of the pitch, so he can play in the wider areas. He can, he can make those little cheeky passes over the top. The things he does well. And he's also got a guy for goal, eye for goal too.
What's wrong with having a guy who can play on the wing and be a striker? I mean, I'm not sure I see. I'm not sure I see the problem with that. I mean,
nothing.
I look at Antonio this season. The latter half of the season.
I don't think he should be the lone striker. I think we have to bring in somebody like a Gomez.
For sure.
Because one striker up front really doesn't work in Pellegrini's system. Chicharito up front by himself never worked. He's not that kind of player. I like him, but I don't think we have any use for him, to be honest. I don't see any problem with the guy who is flexible and can play, a couple of different positions up front. I think the only issue is, will he do it? And what will his attitude be? Because to me, the biggest problem with Arnautovic he's been stroppy, he's been pouty.
He gets offended easily. Yeah.
Right. He's offended. He doesn't always want to play on the wing. He wants to be a striker.
Now, I need to mention one thing about Maxi Gomez, because Wayne mentioned something about his gumption and whatnot. The fact that he gets all those cards. Now, it's La Liga. You know La Liga, right? Like, it's like the easiest league to pick up a card. You could blow on somebody, whisper in someone's ear and get a fucking red card. You know what I mean? It's the biggest pussy league in the world. So anyway, when it comes down to the referees, anyway. The referees.
Beautiful football. It's beautiful football.
No, it's not.
No, it's not, man. It's beautiful weather, beautiful scenery, the beaches are
football
gorgeous.
For ballerinas.
Right. I agree completely.
Exactly, Kevin.
But can we go back to what you said earlier about having someone that can play a dual role?
Yep.
Obviously, Antonio going in the... sorry, just got an update on the Boca Juniors game. Antonio had a revelation on the second half of the season where he was able to play that winger role, but could still cut in. I mean, heck, the last game of the season... How many goals could he have had?
The problem with Antonio, I think, is he doesn't have the eye for goal that you need with somebody who can play up front.
Exactly.
Ooh, yeah. I kind of agree. I kind of disagree. He's got the eye to get himself in position to score a goal. Yeah. But then his shot usually lets him down. But he is good at headers at the far post.
Score with his head.
He's really good at headers at the far post.
Yeah.
We don't have a lot of players like that who can score with their head. I like him for that. The only thing that I am a little cautious of is taking these last couple of games of the season and really making too much out of them. I think the Tottenham away performance, was really representative. Tottenham away was to me a very meaningful win. After that, Southampton, Watford. I mean, Watford had an FA Cup final to prepare for. Southampton were just happy to be staying up. I really don't think we got the. I don't think we can look at those games and say this really means a lot in terms of how we performed. Mm-hmm. I think it was great to watch us win like that. I don't think it means anything going forward into August at all.
I believe Watford was definitely fielding a strong team. I think that they're trying to go into the FA Cup this weekend on a high with their fans, with their team, everything. But I think that they were those guys were playing hard. They were just coming off a lot less lucky than we were.
They did.
Game.
I actually thought the first 20 minutes of that match they outplayed us, and then we scored the goal.
They could have scored in the first 2 minutes. They could have scored
effort-wise for sure.
Yeah, but I mean, and I'm not saying we didn't play well. At the same time, May games to me, when everything shuffles out, sorts out, who's basically won the title, who's staying up, who's going down, everything changes and shifts. December is so different from May that I don't think you can look at May and say it's going to necessarily carry over to the next season. Although I'd wish it would, because we played really well.
Well, August is going to tell us whether Arnautovic is going to be that person or not, right? Only time's going to tell with Arnautovic.
Yeah, I think time only tells for any
the players are going to change.
Time only tells for any player.
I don't. I mean, I personally, I hope he does turn around. I just don't see a person of his age that gets offended by the drop of a hat or a bad article in the Daily Mirror is gonna change. I don't see it. I would like to say I've had my opinion changed about Jack Wilshere over the last couple of weeks, and I think let's give the lad a try. I really do.
Good player. He's still not going to play 38 games for us next season.
No, really, seriously.
To me, Jack Wilshere, Manuel Lanzini, 2 players most likely to be injured for significant stretches next season. If you had to bet on the 2 players who would be injured for significant stretches, I'd bet on those 2 players.
I agree.
Hopefully not at the same time.
I don't want that to happen, obviously. But
no, I know, but Lanzini is fragile. He is. He's not that big. He's fragile, and Wilshere has a history. We know that. When they have a history like Andy Carroll, they don't ever come out of that. Not really.
No, we don't. We're forgetting Yarmolenko too. Like, he's a forward, right?
Yeah.
He's technically a forward. So, yeah, but he can play forward.
He's a winger, not a striker.
Second striker. Oh, so is Artie, but we're playing him as a striker.
I got to believe he's going to come back full strength.
I do too.
Hope so.
100%.
I'd have to agree.
That's a big dude.
Yep, I'm super excited to see him. I'm very excited about him.
Yeah.
But he would be in competition with the position Antonio would be playing, so it'd be a competition for them, right?
Yes, and Snodgrass too, for that matter.
And I mean, you need competition for that, but I could also see Snodgrass slotting into where Lanzini could be.
Yeah, if Lanzini gets it again, yeah.
Snodgrass slides into a whole bunch of different places. That's why I think he's got a spot in the squad there, because you guys are filthy.
That's what
He's a squad player.
Coming from you,
He's a typical Scotsman.
I don't want us to get rid of him, but if we could get rid of him, I wouldn't
He has a lovely time. He does. He really does. He goes down better than a nice soggy chocolate biscuit.
No, I don't think he's a great player. I do think he's a good player. I do think he's a versatile player, and I think there's some value to that. If somebody offered, if we were to be able to sell him for like, 20 million pounds, I'd probably take that. Sure. If we had a big offer for him that was outside of what we expected.
Wait, who are you talking about for 20 million?
Snodgrass?
Oh.
No, I don't. I think we could get like 11 max for him.
That's my whole point. Is he's not. If we got a ridiculous offer from somebody, sure, take it.
But if Villa comes up, it could happen.
But I wouldn't sell him for 10 million. I wouldn't sell him for 10 million. I wouldn't do it. I would keep him. I would.
I like Snodgrass because he's an enforcer. There aren't enough scrappy guys on the team. You know what I mean? There's too many people.
100%.
Look at Anderson. He's fast, he's skilled, and but I mean, if somebody's going to start a fist fight with him, he's going to walk away. Snodgrass is not going to walk away.
But look how shit we were when when Anderson was injured against Everton, and then we kind of had to rely on Snodgrass. So to me, the Everton game was kind of like, oh, Anderson, we miss him.
And Obiang.
We had Perez. And Obiang.
And you're the one who read the lineup, man. Remember that?
Yeah.
The look on your face was
Oh, yeah. I was
priceless.
like, I was aghast.
I still have that picture.
Perez, Obiang?
I mean, I'm not even saying that you need a guy out there kicking ass, but if you need a guy out there that people are afraid might come and kick ass. You know what I mean? Like you don't want to.
Box midfielder that Chaz mentioned comes in, like a
Right.
box midfielder where people. He's not super physical, but at least like people are aware of his presence on the field.
Right.
And I think that's where we have. That's where we're going to have to look at somebody in like Germany. No offense to
Or a
Germans.
young player from France. A lot of those young players from France are physical and good.
That's true.
That's true.
But I mean, like
Like,
most
yeah.
teams are looking at midfielders from Italy. They're looking from people in South America. Those guys, like has been said multiple times already, you blow on them and they're going to fall down.
Oh,
Mhm.
German defenders. I mean, let's be serious here. You're going to throw an elbow and you're still not going to catch a card. You can pretty much stab somebody and you're not going to catch a card. Obviously, if they come over to us, they're going to have to learn, but they're physical, they're big, they're able to muscle people out.
Well, you just mentioned defenders. What about Cresswell? I mean, we've had a tough time with Cresswell this year. Is he getting on too much? Is it time to cut him loose? I mean,
I say cut him
it's
loose.
already written that Winston Reed's gone.
Yeah, he's been on a downward trajectory to me for several seasons now.
I love the man, but I think he's gone.
I agree. I think he's got to go.
As much money as you can for it, as much money. But now, on the mention of Diop here, like he needs. I was really shocked when we signed him from Toulouse. mean, yeah, he was a captain, blah, 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 at such a young age, and the league going, ooh, wow. He needs to eat a few more cheeseburgers, man, if he's going to stay there. I mean, his problem is that, you know, he was very, very, very inconsistent, you know, depending on the pairing. And that should be no fucking excuse. Like, if you're in the Premier League, the fucking best league in the world, it doesn't matter who your center back is. I mean, you shouldn't use that as a crutch. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's done fantastic this season overall, but he had some really piss poor games.
He needs Valbuena back there.
Yeah. I don't think he should have
mean?
started as many games as he had, especially his first season in the league.
He got tired. The French league is not like the Premier League. I watched the French league. You guys all know this. It's not.
Yeah, there's some great players.
It's not the same.
But it's not a great league.
Right.
Yeah,
he got worn out. Is what happened. He got up into March and he hit a physical wall, I think. And I love Issa. I bought his shirt this
season. Me too. No, don't get me wrong. I love the guy, but I think he was over. Yeah.
I think he relied a little too much on Balbuena, who was fantastic and unfortunately was injured for a long time. But I also think I'm with you. Issa needs to bulk up a little bit. He needs to get up to a physical stature where he can play 30-plus games in the Premier League, which he just didn't quite have this season. He was close, but didn't quite have it. You know, he hit a wall. So,
yeah. Can we also, though, talk about Zabaleta for the last 3 games?
Oh, my word.
Why did we renew that contract? Why?
For tutoring experience? I don't know.
In case Fredericks is injured.
There you go.
Because Fredericks
I just like throwing a wrench and everything.
Fredericks is so young. He's good going forward, lacks some.
Fredericks needs to go back to defense school. And I think that's what they said. They're going to have him teach him a little bit more. How does that look?
I learned from Mark Noble on how to slide tackle.
I just don't think that I don't think that they can give him any time off. He gets rusty if he misses a game.
That's true.
Yeah, he's inconsistent, but when he plays, he's pretty good. Zabaleta, I mean, against Watford, just embarrassing. I could have honestly look at me trying to run around out there. He had an absolute nightmare against, I think it was Everton. I don't know. There have been multiple games this season when it's just been apparent that he's 38 years old or however old he is. And
I'd like to see that, by the way.
I think yes, me running around out there. Yeah, I would too. I'd like to see it too, especially if they give me. I'd take $50K a week. I wouldn't argue with that. You know, that'd be okay with me. But I think Zabaleta staying around in like a mentoring role is great. I don't want to see him play more than like 6 times next season. That's all right.
All right. Well, that said, I hope you guys saw my message. It's about time to wrap this up. I appreciate every single one of you guys who popped in today.
Thanks
for having us. No, seriously. Kevin, David, David, Chaz, and Wayne, and Justin popped in, and
Nigel,
and Nigel, and Benny Hill, and
Nigel.
Marwan Shamak. Yeah, that fucking hair. Remember that?
Tim,
are you guys gonna do shows over the summer?
He was like,
oh, plenty. We're not stopping.
Yeah, we're gonna do over the summer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey,
So,
who was in the chat room tonight?
there is no chat room. We were in the chat room. This is not live.
I know.
I was, but it wasn't this. I was, but it wasn't this chat room.
Right, so
I was, but Tim kept telling me to behave and be a good boy.
Oh yeah. All right, so I got
one from you.
Chaz was on live, Jasmine.
Oh Jesus.
Oh.
It was livedeal.com.
Grinder. Right. So I'm gonna mention our upcoming show.
There it is. That's what I was waiting for.
We're gonna have to cut that out.
We have a show tomorrow with a girl from England who followed every single West Ham women's match this season, home and away. Wow. She also did a nice, awesome blog. I mean, on the team.
Surprise guest.
Kind of cool. And she just said, well, since we couldn't get the players on that we'd asked, they kept saying over and over again that they had to talk to the media coordinator, they had to get permission, and they ended up not getting permission. So we said, you know what, we're going to do our season review with someone who actually followed the club from a fan's perspective every single match. So yeah, she's going to be on tomorrow around 2 p.m. Eastern time, which is Friday. And then what else? No, not at all. Drunk on life with coffee. So let's
not
see.
You, me.
Oh, you? All right.
Yeah, I've got a sales meeting at 7 a.m.
Ooh, beer.
That's brutal.
I'm still trying to get Jameson to sponsor me, mate, but nothing's bloody happening.
Just so everybody knows, we have shows until June 9th. And then June 9th, we're switching up the time. I mean, the days. We're actually, we got Arizona Hammers on the 19th. We have story time with Gary from Holy City Hammers on the 23rd.
My man.
We have Los Angeles Hammers on May 26th. On May 30th, we have Kostya coming back to tell us something. And then we have John from Las Vegas on the 2nd of May. We have Cleveland Hammers on the 6th. We have Wally and Gabe, the two guys who pretty much watched every single episode as it was live, that we've done so far, which is kind of cool. So we're having them say thank you to them. We're having them as guests on the show. And then after that, we're going to be switching over to Monday nights and Wednesday nights, most likely, instead of Sunday and Thursday. And we might not be doing too many of the UK shows over the summer. We're going to try to do a couple, like X has agreed to do the show, Knees Up Mother Brown, and Mr. Jack Collison as well. So we're going to, it should be really good. Anyway.
Did I hear Cleveland Hammers in there?
Yeah.
Cleveland? Who do you got from Cleveland? Matt?
I don't know. All I have here is Cleveland. That's all I know.
Okay, cool.
Carey. It's Drew Carey from Cleveland.
Drew Carey, yeah.
He's the only person I can think of who's from Cleveland, so I.
You're going to be wearing a Seattle Sounders shirt.
Jim Tomey.
Right, that's Jim Tomey, right? Brian Sipe.
Frank Thomas.
Ernest Byers.
Go look up Brian Sipe, 1980 NFL MVP.
Brian Sipe, yeah.
I saw him play.
Come on, you Irons.
Old.
Come on, you Irons.